Hello, everyone. James is here. Welcome again to Easy English Talks podcast. I bet we've all been there, right? Like, you're excited to speak English, you're having a good conversation maybe, and then suddenly you overthink some grammar rule or how to even pronounce a word.
And you just freeze up?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You freeze up. It's like the words just disappear. So today, we're going to do a deep dive into this whole overthinking thing. That trap that so many English learners, they experience this.
It's so common. And yeah, it's frustrating. But the good news is there are some concrete things we can actually do to break free from this pattern.
I like concrete. Give me concrete. So to start, can you kind of help us unpack what's happening in our brains when we overthink?
Okay. So,
Is it just are we nervous or is there something else, going on?
I mean, it is more than just nerves, right? I mean, think about when you're speaking your native language. You don't really think about grammar rules or what words to pick, do you? You just speak.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
automatic.
Exactly. But when we're learning a new language, right, especially English, I think we have this tendency to overanalyze everything.
Oh, for sure.
We get stuck in this loop. We're translating from our native language, and then we're worried about messing up, making mistakes. We want to sound perfect.
Oh, I do that all the time. I'll be having a conversation, but in my head, it's I'm translating every sentence.
Back and forth.
Back and forth, yeah. Between English and, my native language. It's honestly, it's so exhausting.
It is. And it actually, it's funny because it makes you less fluent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you're constantly translating, you're not really thinking in English.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're stuck in this in-between place linguistically.
Uh-huh.
And it slows down your speaking for sure. And it makes it sound, less natural.
So instead of translating, what should we be doing? Is it even possible to just think in English?
It is. I mean, it might feel weird at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. One thing that really helps is to narrate your everyday stuff in English.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
for example, you could just be I'm making coffee, or I'm walking to the bus stop.
I like that. It's creating a little English world.
Yeah.
Even if you're not surrounded by English speakers,
Exactly. Exactly. And also, it helps to just focus on getting your message across rather than being perfect with the grammar.
Right.
Yeah. Don't get stuck trying to use the biggest words.
I think sometimes I try to be too fancy.
Yeah.
With my English, and then I just end up making it too complicated.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a common trap. It's so much better to use simple language that you feel good about, even if it's not quote unquote perfect English.
Right.
Because remember, the goal is to communicate, to connect with someone, not to sound like, a text pilot.
Robot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we actually make that change?
Yeah.
From translating to thinking in English. That sounds pretty tough, right?
I mean, it does take effort, but it's totally possible, right? One of the best things you can do is this thing called shadowing.
Oh,
Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of it, but I'm not really sure what it is, to be honest.
So basically, it's pretty easy. You find some audio you like, right? Could be a podcast, could be an audiobook, even a YouTube video, whatever.
Okay.
And you listen and repeat at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And you try to match how they pronounce things, their intonation.
Interesting. So it's not just about understanding the words. It's you're trying to copy how they say it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So shadowing helps you internalize the rhythm, the flow of English, which is super important for sounding natural, for fluency.
It's like a workout.
Yeah.
For your tongue.
Totally.
And your brain at the same time.
Yeah.
I could see how that would be really helpful for pronunciation, right? You're training your mouth to make those sounds automatically.
Exactly. And the more you do it, the more your brain starts to recognize those sounds, those patterns, without having to, translate everything in your head.
Right. So that's cool. Shadowing is a good way to kind of train ourselves to think in English more. What about some other stuff? What else can we do?
Well, I mean, there's the classic, practice, practice, practice. I know it sounds cliche, but it's true. Don't be afraid to talk to yourself, even if it feels silly.
Yeah.
Narrate your day, have these imaginary conversations in your head. You could even record yourself speaking.
I remember when I first started learning English, I used to talk to my cat in English.
Ah.
He didn't understand a word I was saying,
Yeah.
but it helped me just get comfortable, saying the words out loud.
Yeah. That's a great example. It's just about creating those opportunities to actually use it. And don't be scared of messing up. I think that's a big one, right?
Yeah.
Everyone makes mistakes, especially when they're learning.
Yeah, I think sometimes we get so caught up in wanting to be perfect,
Yeah.
that we forget that, like, mistakes are part of learning.
Exactly. In fact, mistakes are super valuable because they show you what you need to work on.
Oh, okay.
So instead of like seeing them as failures, right, think of them as opportunities to learn.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's like a reframe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about embracing the journey,
Yeah,
mistakes and all.
totally.
But I have to admit, even with all this, advice,
Hmm.
it's still hard to get over feeling self-conscious, when you're first starting out. Any tips for those moments when you're like stuck?
For sure. So one thing that can really help is to focus on keeping your sentences short and simple,
Okay.
especially when you're feeling flustered. Like trying to make these big, complicated sentences just makes it worse.
Yeah, I've been there. Like, I'm trying to come up with this super long sentence.
And then you're like, wait, what was I talking about?
I totally lose track.
Yeah. So when you feel yourself like overthinking, just take a breath and just tell yourself it's okay to start with simple, clear statements. You can always like build up to fancier language later once you get more comfortable.
So just, like, start small.
Yeah.
Keep it basic.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So to recap, right? We talked about shadowing, practicing a lot, embracing mistakes, and keeping things simple. What about, like, the bigger picture here? How can we, like, develop a good mindset, one that helps us with, speaking more fluently?
That's such a good question. I think it's not just about like the techniques.
Yeah.
It's also about like building a mindset of growth, and
Yeah.
and resilience.
Okay, I'm really interested in this whole growth mindset thing. Like, how does that apply to, learning English?
Basically, it's about understanding that fluency is a journey.
Okay.
It's not like a destination,
Yeah.
right? There will be good days, bad days, times when you feel frustrated, you feel like you're not getting anywhere. But like the key is to just keep going, keep practicing, keep believing in yourself.
That's easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to get discouraged, right?
Oh, totally. One thing that helps is to like shift your focus.
Yeah.
Instead of comparing yourself to other people, focus on your own progress.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Remember, like, everyone learns at their own pace, so celebrate those little victories, like, even if they seem small. Did you learn a new word today? Did you have, like, even a short conversation in English? Those are all wins.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's so easy to, like, compare ourselves to others, especially with, like, social media and everything.
Yeah.
Everyone seems so fluent in every language.
Totally. And it's key to remember, like, you're not seeing the whole picture, right? You're not seeing the hours of practice that other people are putting in, all the mistakes they made to get to where they are. So be kind to yourself. Focus on your own journey.
Okay, so be kind to ourselves, celebrate our progress, and remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
This is great advice.
Yeah.
But is there anything else we could do to, like, build that confidence, get over the fear of speaking?
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, one of the most powerful things you can do is just start speaking. Even if you don't feel totally confident,
Yeah.
the more you do it, the more confident you'll get. It's like anything, like a muscle you have to exercise.
Yeah, right. The more you do it, the easier it gets.
Exactly. And don't wait for like the perfect moment or to feel perfectly fluent. Just dive in, Use the language in real situations. You'll be surprised how fast your confidence grows.
So it's about taking action, even if it feels a little, like, uncomfortable.
Yes. Honestly, the more you like embrace that discomfort, step outside your comfort zone, that's how you'll grow the most as an English speaker.
Okay, I like that. This has been so helpful. I feel like my mindset is already, like, shifting.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, are there any, like, fun exercises we can do, to put all this into practice?
Tons of great exercises out there, but one I really like is called the 30-second challenge.
The 30-second challenge. I don't think I've heard of that one.
So it's really simple, but it works. You pick a topic, anything you're interested in, right?
That way.
And you try to talk about it in English for 30 seconds, no stopping.
Oh, wow. That sounds fun. And challenging, too.
It can be surprisingly hard, but that's what makes it so good. You have to think quickly, express your ideas without getting stuck on grammar or pronunciation.
So it's about keeping that flow going,
Yes.
right? Like, keep talking, even if you make some mistakes along the way.
Exactly. And the cool thing is you can do it anywhere, anytime. You could be in the shower, cooking dinner, walking your dog. It's a great way to, like, sneak in extra practice throughout your day.
Oh, I love that. It's like a mini workout for your English.
Yeah.
And a good way to, like use all those tips we talked about today.
Totally. The more you practice, the better you'll feel speaking English. More comfortable, more confident.
Wow, this has been like seriously helpful, this whole deep dive. I feel like I get it now, why we overthink and more importantly, like how to stop doing it.
Yeah, I'm glad. It really is about changing how you look at things,
Yeah.
and just like building those good habits.
One thing that I'm going to remember is that thing about thinking in English instead of like translating everything in my head all the time. That just seems like huge.
It is. It's amazing. Like once you can do that, how much easier it gets to speak.
Yeah.
You sound more natural.
And I'm totally going to try that shadowing thing. I never thought about like copying how someone says something as a way to like train my brain.
Yeah.
But it makes so much sense when you explain it like that.
It's a really powerful technique. And it can be fun, too, once you get the hang of it. Just pick something you like to listen to so it doesn't feel like work,
Right, exactly. I'm already thinking about which podcasts I want to use. I also really like what you said about mistakes. Like, it's so easy to get caught up in, wanting to be perfect. But it's good to know that mistakes are actually, like, good for us.
They are. They're how we learn.
Yeah.
And the more you can see them as part of the process, the less scary it is to actually speak.
So true.
Yeah.
This whole deep dive has been so, like, encouraging. Is there anything else you want to leave our listeners with before we finish up?
Yeah. Just remember that speaking fluent English, it's a journey.
Right.
It's not about, like, reaching some finish line, Be patient with yourself. Keep practicing. And most importantly, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just start speaking.
Such good advice.
Mm.
So to all our listeners out there, what's one small thing you can do today to get closer to your English goals, right? Maybe it's trying that 30-second challenge we talked about.
Yeah.
Maybe it's narrating your day in English, or even just smiling and saying hi to someone in English.
Yeah.
Every little bit helps, right?
Totally. Every little bit counts.
Yeah. This has been amazing. A fantastic deep dive into this whole overthinking thing. I know I learned a ton. I hope you guys did too. Don't forget to subscribe and share the video with your friends. Bye, and see you next time. Bye-bye.